Thank you for tuning in to Ungentrified with Kent Johnson. Ungentrified takes an unfiltered view on pop culture, music, television and film, politics, current events, and topics central to the worldwide Black community. Ungentrified is a safe audio space for celebrating Black culture in its purest form. What's up, good people? It's your boy Kent, back with another very special episode of Ungentrified. Of course, I have Bianca with me. B, say what's up.
Hey!
And we are here to discuss episode 6 of season 4 of Insecure, which was Lowkey Done. So let's go ahead and get rolling with it. I don't feel like we have too much to discuss for this particular episode, but it was a good episode. And I think it might be the only episode in the series so far that was like this Issa-centric. Nobody else showed up. Or if they did, it was...
like through phone or like they weren't interacting with her on screen.
Right.
Yeah.
And we know Molly definitely didn't show up because it is the day after the street fair, and Issa's just kind of rolling in everything that happened. You know, the high of the event, the low of almost fighting your best friend at the event, and then just the overall being drained from having, you know, all of the work that led up to that moment and now not having anything to do. All those emotions that seem to be running really rampant in Issa right now. But she's definitely still stuck on the fight. Like, it's replaying in her mind and things like that. So we know that Nathan's still around, and they seem to be cool.
Well, it's only one day later, so
Right.
so yes, he's checking it. They checking in with each other still. Yes.
Right. So he's like, hey, if you need a shoulder to lean on, or you want to talk about, everything that happened, cool. And then Issa kind of apologizes for him being in the middle of it, and I don't think he cares all that much because I don't think he's Team Molly anyway because of how she treated him when he went to apologize to her in the last season. But Issa ends up spending kind of a day to herself, just a self-care.
Yeah.
It's a self-care Sunday. That's what it was. But yeah, so she's out in the world and she's back on her good vibes only thing. So she's trying to put this good energy out into the world when she's at the store buying that Carlo Rossi. Shout out to the person on YouTube who pointed that out in the comments for us, that it was Carlo Rossi wine. And when she said it, I was like, you know what? I have seen that wine everywhere.
Yeah. And as soon as Kid told me that it was Carlo Rossi, I looked at my husband and said, Carlo Rossi? And he was like, yeah. Like, he reminisced. Yeah, that Carlo Rossi.
I'm sure his liver did not reminisce in the same way.
Oh, it has like 1% alcohol in it. That's why it comes in a jug.
Right. But yeah, she's at the store buying some Rossi, some of that Rossi, and while she's in line, she hears a pregnant lady who's, on rough times and asking for some assistance from folks, and she offers to do that. It ends up running her pockets a little bit, but hey, good vibes only. Later on that day, she sees a man who misses the bus and offers to ride him all the way out to somewhere in Inglewood.
That cracked me up.
Right.
Like, that whole car ride cracked me up. It was too hot. It was too cold. It's like, why are you using your GPS? You want the government to know where we're going. Like, the whole thing was like too much.
Right. Yeah, and then there's one of those situations where you're like, okay, if I say you got to get out my car, you might try to kill me. So I'm gonna ride this till as long as I can.
Mm-hmm. My mom always says, no good deed goes unpunished.
Right.
And she was feeling it. that should have been the name of this episode.
Right. Yeah, because none of her good deeds went unpunished today. All of the choices she made kind of had some kind of backlash, but she ends up at a paint and sip by herself, which is, paint and sips are normally things that you don't participate in or attend by yourself. But Issa's on Good Vibes Only. She got a Rossi, and then she ends up getting a posse at the paint and sip. She meets three other girls from the East Coast, from Maryland, from PG County.
Yes, I did peep that when she said Merlin. I said, "Oh, yep, yep."
uh, Shout out to my Baltimore folks. That's me, 410, born and partially raised, but um
Well, you still have a 410 cell phone number, don't you?
I do. That number has been with me since I've had a cell phone. I got that phone in 2000. It was a Sprint phone. It ain't Sprint no more. But it was a Sprint phone, and that number has stayed with me the entire time.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm never getting rid of that number. So
Government can't find you.
right. Oh no, they've been tracking me for a long time. They ain't had to update antennas or nothing. It's been the same one. Um, but yeah, she meets these three girls from PG County who are out there for one of the girls' bachelorette
Bachelorette.
weekend. Yep.
And you were
And
right when you messaged me. You said you thought one of the girls was Kayla Pratt,
yep. Yep.
and it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, it was. It was. Yeah, I saw her from the side. I was like, I think that's Kyla Pratt. But then I mean, that's kind of been the theme this whole season. It's just seeing random black actresses pop up all over the place. So if we're
Yeah,
keeping
because
the
you know
tab,
when she picked the old dude up in front of the bus stop, there was the looking for Latoya post
yep.
bench poster.
Yeah. Oh, and if you do yourself a favor, go to either HBO's site or HBO's YouTube page for Insecure, and you can see the trailer for Looking for Latoya, and we find out who Latoya is, and Latoya is SZA, and her mom is Candy, and her dad is Carl Payne, otherwise known as Cockroach from the Cosby Show, or um, man, what's his name on Martin? I can't think of his name on Martin.
I can't
Uh,
think of his name either. I drew a blank. No,
no,
I was gonna say
Cockroach
Kyle, but that
is
well, I was gonna say Kyle, but that's
no,
not
that's
girlfriend,
what I
but
was thinking.
living single.
Yeah, okay, I would be losing this round of Black Trivia if we were at a bar right now. Man, I can't. It's gonna come to me like somewhere in this episode. I'm just gonna blurt it out, but uh, um, yeah. So definitely go roll over to YouTube or HBO's page and see the trailer for Looking for Latoya. But yeah,
It
that's
was worth it. It was hilarious, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I was so glad that you put me on. His name is Cole on
Cole.
on
Yes.
Martin.
uh,
But yes, it was worth that, like the detour.
yes. And yeah, so if we're keeping a tab so far, all of the black actresses that we've seen that we know from prior stuff would be Paula J. Campbell, Terry Vaughn, who is the host of Looking for Latoya, Wendy Raquel Robinson, who turns out to be Issa's mom,
Mm.
and Kyla Pratt, who is in this episode. Am I missing anyone else? I feel like that's
Uh,
it so far. But we do see in
yeah.
the next episode, Kim Fields is in the next episode. If you saw the previews for next week, but yeah, so she's having a good time with these three other girls, and is probably giving her the warm and fuzzies that she's missing right now from not being connected to her group of girlfriends. Uh, so she does the paint and sit with them. They have a good time. It's time to leave, and they're like, "Hey, girl, what you doing after this?" And he says, acts like she has something to do, but then ends up going with them to some bar down the street, and they end up chopping it up. But this is really the first time that Issa claimed her title now. Like she feels like she's accomplished
Hmm.
something. Uh, she,
It was like a mind meld as she was like talking it through, and
mm-hmm,
then she was like, well, I kind of do this and I kind of do that, and I guess if you had to put a label on, so I think that was like good for her to kind of like talk through it, and then like you're saying, like take ownership of who she is now.
right, yeah, and that definitely marks a changing in her understanding of herself too. Because it's like, I've been in this kind of haze, in this gray moment for the last couple of months, trying to figure out, who am I after we got y'all, and all of these changes in my life. And now I can actually say I've accomplished something, and no more imposter syndrome. I actually have the experience under my belt. So I'm a cultural curator now. So, you
Yeah.
know, shout out to, being able to acknowledge the greatness that you've done. Because it's hard for a lot of people to understand that they do have a skill set even after they've done the work. And that's something that impacts Black people especially. And then I know a lot of my lady friend colleagues, my female friends say that, they feel it especially, like they know they can do it. They have all of the credentials to do it, but still feel like they don't belong in the spaces where they can show how great they are.
hmm And that's just true of women also, just in general. Like, I was talking to my boss a couple weeks ago about this program that I'm in for leadership, and they were saying that like with women, um, most of the times they don't even try to apply for jobs or go after new rate promotions and things like that, because if there's like a list of requirements on there and they only have like 4 out of 5, they'll try to wait until they get that fifth one to do it. But men, they'll have like two and be like, I got this. I'm fully qualified. I can definitely do it. So I just think that's like that's partially a woman thing, and then definitely, definitely a African American woman thing. So I feel like that's one thing that I'm keeping in my mind going forward in my career and in my path, is to just like go for it. Even if I don't have all the skills, I know that at some point I'm gonna like, learn on the job or take classes or do whatever I have to do to like get up to speed. So just having that confidence to go forward and do it. I'm just gonna go for it now.
Yeah.
But I laughed at you a minute ago, Kit, because I don't want you to ever say lady friends again. It just didn't sound right.
My lady friend.
My lady friends. Um, but the other thing I was going to point out is that you're a cultural curator as well. I mean, I
Yes.
feel like that's what you're doing. So I feel like maybe that's another reason that you kind of like, your ears perked up and you kind of could like relate to what she was talking about.
Yeah, I actually laughed a little bit when she said it, because one of the titles that I use when kind of explaining some of the work that I do is cultural strategist. So, um, yeah, I was like, oh, I know definitely that space. But I mean, I've even had instances of feeling like I didn't deserve where I was in my career or things that I had done before. Uh, and the one that sticks out to me the most was the day I started law school. So I was in a part-time program at law school because I made the stupid mistake of thinking that working full time and going to law school part time was a good idea. I got through it, but whew, that was some struggle. But going to the first day of orientation, sitting in there, and people were introducing themselves, and there's one person like, "Oh, I'm a doctor. Oh, I'm a rocket scientist. Oh, I have a patent for da 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 da," and I'm like, well, how the hell did I get in here? Like, I'm just regular old me. Got my undergrad degree. Got a couple of years of work under my belt. Like, I haven't. These people are already doctors, like in other spaces in the world. How did I, make it into this class of people? And then I had to like slap myself and be like, but you're in the room now. So like somebody saw the qualifications in you to include you in this group of incredibly great people. That should be the end of discussion. It should be no question. It should be no doubt. So I kind of took that mindset going forward. Like if you're in the room, you're supposed to be there. Like you have what it takes to get into the room. So you were invited to the room because you have what it takes. Stop questioning yourself. If
Yeah.
you're there for a reason. If you made it that far, it's because you have whatever it takes, or you can learn whatever it takes to make it happen. So I try to keep that in mind whenever I get into spaces where I'm like, whew, how did that happen? But then I'm like, no, why why wouldn't I think anything less? So yeah, that's a quick, kind of little tidbit for people who ever had those doubts about like why am I here? The fact that you're in the room is worthy enough of
It's true.
you
There's
know,
people who do have that confidence who fight to get in the room, knowing that in normal circumstances they wouldn't be invited to the room. So I think that's something else to kind of think about. Is like there are people who are fighting and I'm rejecting, right? Like I'm kind of talking myself out of it. So why don't I think that I'm good enough? Like just you just gotta think higher of yourself. We're our own worst critics. And a side note, I just got a Facebook reminder like a couple days ago of your me taking video of you at your law school graduation, and I
yeah.
got a little emotional again. I cried and his mom didn't even cry, but that's something else.
Yeah, my little sister sent me a picture. She had the same thing. It was 7 years. Oh my God, 7 years since I graduated law school. And it's funny when I look, I was like, I don't even look like that guy anymore. I don't know who he is.
I
uh,
don't look like that girl anymore, but I wish I did. Side note. Anyway,
yeah.
back to business.
Yeah, shout out to all of the folks who graduated or are graduating in the next couple of weeks or so. You did it. Yay. Um, but yeah, so back to Issa and her understanding that she did something great too. So, she's feeling in a good space with these girls. They ran through the Rossi and now they got some real drinks at the bar. And she's like, "Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom." And one of the girls goes with her, and they're sitting down in the bathroom, and Issa's just talking, running her mouth about where they should go, and the girl doesn't respond to her.
I was like, did she pass out? Did she like? I was like, what happened?
Oh, and see my scammy senses went up. I was like, oh, they rolled out on her. I picked that up real quick. I was like, they dipped on her. Um, maybe I know PG people a little too well. I'm just playing. I'm just playing, y'all.
And I'm a good-hearted person, and I was like, oh no, I hope she's okay.
I'm just playing Merlin, folks. But
Merlin.
right, but they definitely dined and dashed on her. They dipped out on her, and she gets back to the table and realizes that that was one of the things on their bachelorette weekend checklist was to befriend a stranger, and then they dine and dash, and they got double points because they did a two
They
and
did them
one.
together. Yes, they combined them.
Right. And we've already talked about this, but I think this was the funniest moment of the episode.
Sorry, I'm trying to hold in my laughter, but
When Issa went on a rampage and found the girls and beat one of the girls in the head with the canvas.
yes, that was hilarious because I because I saw her like, okay, she's tracking them down. Okay, she caught them. Oh, okay, she's about to go off on when she slammed the painting over the girl's head and was like, "Welcome to LA, bitch." I just died. I just died. And then when we saw it was a dream, I was like, damn it, she should
Right.
really do it. I was disappointed because like, okay, this was the third thing that had happened, so I felt like, oh shoot, she reached her limit. Everybody has a limit, and so when that happened, I just assumed that she had hit her wall and was like, no, somebody gonna pay for all the drama I've been through today, and to take some of that Molly beat down.
Right.
So I just assumed that it was real. So that's why I was disappointed when it wasn't. Not that I want people to be beating people up or think that if you come to Cali or LA that you gonna get a beat down. But I mean, you might.
Yeah, but and we hadn't seen one of those scenarios play out on the show in a while because they used to do that a lot, like in the first couple of
Hmm.
seasons, but we hadn't
Yeah,
seen
where
it
you
in a
didn't know if it
while.
was real or not.
Right. Yeah, it was definitely a funny moment. But like you said, that was the third time, and that kind of broke her. I think she was done at that point. And uh, of all the people she could have called, she called her mom, which, of course, I thought was a good turn of events because we all would have assumed that, she would have went to go see Nathan or Lawrence or Uh, who
Or
knows?
even Kelly at this point.
Right.
Yeah, so, but no,
Uh,
mama's always there for you.
yeah, yeah, she went home. So sometimes you got to return home and get a reset on
Hmm.
things. So, she came in and her mom knew immediately that something was off about her, and she's kind of let Issa let it all out. And
Yeah.
they had a conversation where I think a lot of us have this conversation. It may not necessarily be with a parent or anyone like that. It may be a
The one where they tell
conversation.
you that you're a mistake. A second mistake.
Right.
It's
Look,
a
I
third,
made
fifth
mistakes.
mistake.
Well, no, no. The conversation around what you thought 30 was going to be and then what 30 actually
Mm,
is.
hmm.
Because I mean, we all have these ideas of, oh, when I'm 30, or well, before you hit 30, like 30 feels like the end of the world. And
Yeah.
then you feel like, all of the things that you said you were going to do at 21 before you were 30 have not happened. It's the kids aren't here, or the career isn't where you wanted it to be, or you don't have a career, or
Hmm.
you don't have the hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings that you thought you would, or shit is just a little bit different than what you expected.
Yeah.
But you were planning with a 21-year-old mind, and as adult as you thought you were at 21, it pales in comparison, or it should pale in comparison to the adult that you've become as you're approaching 30. So,
Yeah.
it's a tough moment for a lot of folks where 30 is just not what they thought it would be, and you kind of kind of have to have that little bit of death to the old thought of 30 and embrace what 30 has become or it is for you, and understand that it's still a whole bunch of life left on the other
Right.
side
You
of
are not
30.
that old. You are old to like a 20-year-old.
Right.
But to like, in the grand scheme of things, you're just hitting your stride, honestly. Like I think all the time, like I didn't have my first child until I was 34. So clearly at 30, I was still living my best life or a life. I was living a life. Um, and I was going through it with a boyfriend. I think I had moved back home or something, and I had just like a regular schmegular job, and so like that didn't hold, that didn't break me. I actually rang in 30 feeling like I was living my best life for whatever reason, and moving a little bit further in time, I was just kind of like 30 wasn't nothing. Like I was still a little spring chicken at 30. Like a lot doesn't happen between 20 and 30 for most people. Some people do, you know, hit the career of their dreams. Like I have a cousin that just graduated from school and he makes more than I make right now. And so, different people, different choices. But I mean, it didn't hold me back. I do know some people who was like, "Oh God, I'm 30," and was like in a closet crying, and I was just kind of like, "Why though? You still look good. You're still young and you're healthy. Who needs those babies?" And now that I'm 39 and have two babies, I'm extremely tired. And it's not always cracked up to me. I'm married. I can't stand him most of the time. So it's not all those cracked up to me. People can't wait to be married, but I've known him for, half of my life, most of my life. And it's not like Prince Charming or whatever. But I mean, I'm out of the dating pool. So that is a bonus because I've seen what's out there. I mean, like before I got married, but it's not. I just want people to know. Like I know, have cousins that are like dying to get married and have kids and do all this stuff, and it's just like live your life and just enjoy what you have because tomorrow it could be something totally different, and you'll be trying to catch up to a new Joneses or something.
Right, right. Yeah, let's see. 30 for me, that was what, 2001? No, I'm sorry, not 2001, 2011. Look, that's how old I
Yeah,
am. I'm
2001.
forgetting.
Whoa,
No, I'm not that old.
you really are old, Kent.
I'm not that
I'm
old.
just
No, I'm
kidding.
sorry. It was 2011. For me, I was in the middle of law school. As I mentioned, since I did it part time, it was a 5-year program, but
Mhm.
I, being aggressive, squeezed it into 4 years. So just add that to working full time as well. Like I said, I was stupid and stressed, but 30 wasn't that bad for me either. And maybe because I saw the change happening beforehand. I was like, oh, this is what my 30s is going to be. I had my law
Mhm.
degree. At this point, well, I had already bought a house, so like that at
Right. I
least.
was just gonna say that. Speaking of trying to catch up with the Joneses, when I turned 30, Kent brought me out as a birthday present to Atlanta for my first time. And so I was able to bask in his glory of a home. And I was like, well dang, you pay how much for this house? I can't have a house in Cali. Like I could be a millionaire and could barely have a house there. But that wasn't it. I was like, wow, he's 30. He's in law school. He has a home. I think it's just all in perspective. Like that's how I looked at him, and obviously he looked at himself. But it didn't make me feel bad about what I was doing. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, that I do want to aspire to do more. Let's just say.
Yeah, and then look, the table switched because now when you had Caleb, when you had your first kid, I was like, damn it, I ain't got no kids yet. My mama was on me when you had
I was about to say you only said
kids,
damn it because your mama was gonna call you to be like, when's your baby coming, Kent?
right? Because I knew in my family like all of the accomplishments was cool, but they want some grandbabies. Uh, so I mean, it all comes into perspective, but yeah, the 30s are not what you are planning them to be if you're in your 20s, and hell, sometimes even in your 30s are what you're planning them to be. Because look, when I started 30, the idea of black and abroad didn't even exist, and then
Hmm.
that's taken on a whole nother world. I thought I was going to be at some big law firm, making partner, and then realized at the end of law school that that was the furthest from what I actually wanted. So, so many things change, and you have to be open to that and understanding that, hey, 38 is not old. Hell, I'm looking at 40 now, and I was like, hey, that ain't even old. It don't
I
feel
mean, it's
old
kind of
yet.
old. It's a little
And
bit old.
then
It's almost the midway.
the 30s is when you get to do all the things you wanted to do in your 20s, but you actually have the money
They
to
ain't
do
had
it
no
now,
money. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
So
like,
I did have fun in my 30s. Yes.
yeah, I was taking trips galore. I was going to hella like if you are a super ungentrified fan, and you know that I've mentioned a couple of times how much I love roller coasters. So I was going to amusement parks, big 34-year-old kid in line, but this was like I could travel all over the world and go to amusement parks if I wanted to. That was the thing that I would want to do in my 20s, and couldn't. But yeah, you get to do all the things you want to do because you have money. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, and I mean, other than the fact that your metabolism dies in your 30s, everything
Ugh,
else is
yeah.
cool.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, she kind of had that moment with her mom around turning 30 and expectations and reality, and realizing that being in,
Friendships.
yeah, that there's, seasons and reasons and all that kind of conversation. But it was the first time we've been having it about them, but it was the first time that Issa actually had that conversation in this season. So
Hmm.
she walked away from that feeling much better, went home, chilling, still cleaning up the house, trying to get, your surroundings together, preparing yourself for this new space, right? Just getting rid of clutter and being okay with that.
Hmm.
And, her final little sense of comfort is like, you know what, I'm gonna go to my spot, my favorite Ethiopian
She was
spot.
excited too. She was
Right.
like dancing and singing. That's my kind of food spot.
Right. Uh, she's like, I'm going to Mercado, which is her favorite Ethiopian spot to get something to eat. She rolls up, and as she gets to the door, she looks inside. She sees Molly at the counter sitting. And did you watch the wind down afterwards, B?
I didn't.
You didn't.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So they pointed out something very important that I didn't pick up during my watching of the episode. And Issa spoke to the fact that it was more than, of course, seeing Molly inside of her favorite spot, but it was also the fact that Molly had the phone in her hand, and it was the thinking that, wait a minute, I've been stressing out about this situation all day long. and here you are with your phone in your hand and you not contacting me. And especially when everybody's been saying like, are you gonna call her? You should call her,
Hmm.
and Issa having that mindset of I've always been the one to like extend the olive branch. I want an olive
Hmm.
branch extended to me for once. So she's
Yeah.
been standing her ground in that. But yeah, to walk up and see the person that you're waiting for the call from and they got the contraption that would make a call in their hand and they not using it to contact you.
And
Uh
I'll take it even a step further that I noticed is that she was like having the time of her life in there. Like, she was like smiling and like she was good. Like I don't, it seemed like she didn't have a care in the world. Opposed to Issa, who, like you're saying, had been stressed all day, or I mean, it's a snapshot, obviously, because at any moment she could have ran into Issa at drinks or at sipping paint or whatever, where she was smiling and not, you know, seeming like she had a care in the world or whatever. But it seemed like Molly was just fine living her life,
hmm
even though that had just happened. So, and
right.
Kelly had said that she had called her a bunch of times and she wasn't responding. So, like you said, she had the phone in her hand and she was just not, she wasn't having it right today.
hmm And I feel like as we see the next episode. Well, so this was the Issa episode. We know that the next episode, based off the previews, is very Molly centric. Molly and Andrew go on vacation in Mexico. So I don't know how far that is after the
The events.
the event, but I'm assuming it's probably in the next week or so. But I wouldn't be surprised if, well, no, I was gonna say maybe if those moments linked up in time, but this is a day after the event for Issa. But I think we are gonna see a piece of Molly's episode that references that moment. I don't know if her episode is gonna start at that, at her
Maybe
being on
that
her
would be good.
phone,
Yeah.
or if we see her see Issa walk away and she just doesn't uh go after her, or who knows what it might be. But
Yeah, because I was thinking about that too. I was wondering if she would look up and see Issa and not stop her. I mean, we obviously saw Issa move on, but I was
mhm.
wondering what the flip side of that. And I was looking for Andrew too. I was like, is she alone? So that's why I said it's a snapshot. It could be maybe she was in her feelings and wasn't, having a great day either. Um, but we only saw her on her phone, just kind of like living life.
Right, right, and that could be her seeing a text message from Andrew that's like, let's go away next weekend or something, and that'd be
Hmm.
the beginning of her episode. Uh,
Issa, do you need writers? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
but yeah, I feel like we're gonna see her kind of deal with it as well, or maybe her not deal with it, which would be even more of a thorn in the side to
Hmm.
everything. But I know folks have been spending the last week sifting through episodes
Old,
past and
yeah.
finding all of the moments that led up to the event. And let's see, two of them stuck out to me. And I think we talked about these. One of them, somebody brought up a clip earlier in this season where Molly offered Andrew up to
Hmm.
Issa early on. She was like, "Oh, well, it was when she was planning for the fundraising event. You got Andrew coming to the party, so you know important people too. Don't act like you need Condola to make everything happen." So she offered up Andrew for assistance,
Hmm.
and people picked up on that. The other thing, people, I got a reminder of. I mean, I kind of knew this, but in the last season, people were like, Molly was against this event from jump. It brought me back from when she was like, I'm gonna call it musical with a K, and Molly was the first one to
Yeah.
crack jokes about that. Uh,
Well, who wouldn't though?
Right, yeah. But Molly has never really been supportive of this event. Or if she was, it was always with like a tinge of shadiness around it. It
Hmm.
was never like full on support. And
That's true.
well, in this episode, this was a throwback too to the first episode of the entire series where they went out for Easter's birthday and they went to Mercado. That was the same
Mm,
restaurant. So it was, a full circle moment there where, and I think they've gone there another time in the season. I mean, not in the
I don't
season, in the
recall.
series, but I
Mm-hmm.
forget when. I know they've gone out to a couple of spots together, but they definitely went out there in the first episode of the show.
Well, it's Molly's spot now, just like
Right.
that parking spot, because Issa backed on up and went on home.
Right. And then I almost feel like that was intentional too of Molly being there like, oh well, if I happen to run into her, it won't be me calling her, cuz
Mm. Because that is a spot like you looking for me at like Baskin Robbins or something, like or Dairy Queen. I'm gonna be there, so you might as well just stay there all day.
right. Yeah, if I know it's a spot that you frequent all the time and this is your comfort space, you might end up here. Or I might be
Hmm.
going there just for the nostalgic value of, oh, this is where she would like to be. Um
Yeah, or I would just go there and be like, this my restaurant, bitch. Like, you can't come in here.
you can have this.
I got no, yeah, just like I took that parking spot.
In the divorce, I get all restaurants on
I
this
get my
side
condo. Yeah.
of La Cienega. Like this is mine. You don't get none of this. Um,
Oh, bro, no, that's not good.
yes. Uh,
But yeah, I was glad to see that we saw almost everybody. I mean, we didn't see Lawrence,
hmm
and we didn't see Tiffany, but we saw Tiffany's baby.
Right.
And we saw Kelly taking care of Tiffany's baby and leaving Tiffany's house late. So I'm still waiting for that story to come out. But
hmm
of course, Issa was avoiding everybody, so
Right.
that was not going to happen this episode. So
And
soon, maybe.
and Kelly brought up a good point. Remember we were talking about this last week
Yes,
that
I
because
was
they
thinking of
knew,
you when she said it.
like her and Tiffany know this whole situation. So uh, Kelly's trying to put her up on game. Like, look, don't let this linger. Figure out whatever it's going to be. Figure it out now, because the longer it
Yeah.
lingers, the more the distance becomes comfortable to people, and you don't want that. You want to have your answer and be able to move on to whatever it's going to be.
And she
So,
kind of forced Issa to actually kind of come to terms like what she would want, right? Because
hmm
she's asked her. She said, "So if it doesn't happen, then what? You done? You done talking to her? You're never gonna speak to her again?" And she kind of paused and was like, "Am I okay with that?" And I mean, it sounded like in the moment she was, but it did force her to kind of like think about it
right,
versus like I'm just in my feelings right now. I'm just mad. Like, am I okay with being so mad that this is the end of our relationship forever?
right.
So we'll see.
And Molly and Issa both approach this moment in different spaces, right? You mentioned this last week that Issa came into it like I don't fuck with Molly no more, and then she got confirmation why she don't later on. Whereas Molly came into it like Issa getting on my nerves, and then she
Hmm.
had this big blow up moment at the end where she kind of got to her I don't fuck with you moment no more. So
Yeah,
like Issa's further along the fuck you timeline
yeah.
than Molly would be in this case. So who
Because I
knows?
think also Molly realizes that a lot of it in the past, like she's been the maker upper.
hmm
So however she's feeling, she knows all she got to do is be like, all right, well, I'm sorry I did that, or let's just forget it and move on, or whatever. And then it kind of like moves forward. But Issa was just from the place of I'm done. And now we have to see if Molly is gonna be the olive branch giver, or if she's also gonna be like, she gotta come to me. I'm not ever coming to her. So
Right. Yeah.
we gotta see we gotta see who's can stand the test of time. Who's the most stubborn?
Right. Because it's not, to me, I feel like it's not going to be a phone call. It's going to be a text. Like when you argue with folks, you don't call them right away. You be like, let
You
me
dip your
forward
toe
them
in.
this. Right.
Yeah, you dip your toe in and see what kind of exchange you give. You still get silence, then you keep it silent.
Right.
Or
Like,
I think that's less of a rejection because look how many times she text messaged Condola when Condola was clearly ghosting her. And didn't she like when Nathan had ghosted her? Didn't she like reach out to him a bunch of times too?
Mm,
So she's
and rode
clearly
up
on
to his
the.
house, right? So she's being real strong right now.
Yeah, she is. It's self care. You can't be giving in on self care Sunday.
Right, right. Uh, but yeah, that was it for this week. It wasn't too much to dig
But
into.
wait,
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
did like I like the full circle, right? So we started the episode at her looking at the Facebook comments for the event and kind of
Hmm.
like what you were saying, kind of saying like, "Oh, yeah, I guess it was good or whatever, but that's over now." And she kind of like pushes them to the side like, "Okay, well, that's over. That's done. I'm glad people was fine with it, I guess." But at the end, she revisits those comments and then she kind of like starts to smile and say, "You know what, I did a good thing. I am accomplished. People did enjoy themselves. They were like super hyped on those comments too, to the point where somebody was like, where can I find more of these? When's the next one?" And to that she replies, "Coming soon." So that's her. She goes from Loki being done to
Right,
then opening herself back up to, "Oh, this is what I'm about now, so let me figure out what I'm about to do next."
right. You're absolutely right. I forgot about that, and
He's trying to get me off the phone fast.
and I forgot
Go ahead.
about my second favorite moment of the episode when Shanna from the street did her report and was like, "You niggas came together for fried chicken, cocoa butter, and violence."
Hey, that's my kind of reporting. She was the news. She was
Right.
right.
I need that, gripping, intense reporting coming in on black
That hard
issues in the
hitting.
world. That
Hey,
hard
she's
hitting
speaking to us
journalism.
in our language. That's why.
Yeah. So,
um, that
uh,
was good.
and I have decided that that phrase will be a part of my vocabulary going forward because it applies to
She
so
wasn't
many
wrong.
things.
Yeah, she was not wrong. You know what? You should add it to your new business. The
Right.
tagline for your new business. Oh, brother. But yeah, so I thought it was a good episode. I laughed the entire time. Even though there was like lows of Issa kind of feeling low, I never felt the drag down of the episode. I was just I wanted to call you right away, like, but I was too busy laughing. I was cackling. My mom was like, "What are you laughing at over there?" Because I had my earbuds on. I was watching it on my iPad, and I was like, "Nothing." Like, sorry for disturbing you, but this is hilarious.
Yeah, it was a good
Issa's
episode.
language is not for babies, so I couldn't put it on the TV yesterday. I think the whole mirror bitch was all F words.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Mirror Bitch was not having it this episode.
so I was like, oh, thank goodness I did not put this on TV.
But yeah, and this episode was a good episode. But so of course, if we had an Issa only episode, the opposite of that is a Molly only episode. And we get that next week with her and Andrew hitting Mexico. That episode is titled "Low Key Trippin'." So,
Mm, I feel
in
the drag down.
yeah, in the previews, we see that it's a couple's trip, and the couple is, I don't know if it's Andrew's brother or a childhood friend, but either way, it's someone that Andrew knows really well, uh, and they're having that experience. So,
Mm.
look, I'm already coming with it, prepared to roll my eyes or suck my teeth at whatever Molly got to say about that
Ugh,
situation. Because if it ain't,
yes.
I'm sorry.
It's negative Nancy.
Right.
Cause she's gonna bring a beautiful, fun, enjoyable trip down. I already know it. They gonna
Right.
break up before the end of that trip at least once. He gonna be sleeping in his friend's room or something. Like she's gonna make a mountain out of a molehill for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. So, yes, until next week, of course, if you liked what we discussed today, there's more. Go back and listen to past episodes wherever you enjoy podcasts. If you want to listen to them on a website, you can do that by visiting the website for the show, ungentrifiedpodcast.com. If you thought we said something completely stupid and you want to let us know, you can do
Don't
that.
let us know.
Right. Hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at ungentrifiedpod. Of course, another way to support us is to rate the podcast. You can do that on Apple Podcasts, or I think you can do it on Spotify too. Not too many places you can rate, but you can definitely do that and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Tell somebody else to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I appreciate you if you have done so. But until next time, until next week for episode 7, we'll see you then. Peace.
Bye.